Why narcissists replace you so fast. One of the most painful, confusing, and emotionally devastating experiences after leaving a narcissist is seeing how unbelievably fast they seem to replace you with somebody new. It can feel cold, heartless, and almost impossible to emotionally process in the beginning, especially when you spent months or even years deeply emotionally invested in the relationship. You sit there wondering how someone who once claimed to love you so deeply and intensely could suddenly move on as if your presence in their life never truly mattered at all. And the speed at which they do it can completely shatter your emotional stability. It makes you question the relationship, your value, your memories, and sometimes even your reality itself. But here's the painful truth that many people eventually discover after enough reflection and healing. Narcissists do not replace people quickly because they healed emotionally in a healthy way. They replace people quickly because attachment and relationships work very differently for them psychologically. Relationships are often less about deep emotional intimacy and genuine connection, and far more about emotional supply, validation, attention, admiration, and control over another person. What they fear most is not necessarily losing you specifically as an individual person. What they fear most is losing access to emotional attention that constantly feeds their ego and identity. That is why the moment a relationship starts emotionally collapsing or becoming unstable, many narcissists already begin searching for another source of attention and validation. Sometimes they emotionally detach from you long before the relationship officially ends. And while you are still trying to repair the connection and save the relationship emotionally, they may already be preparing their next emotional replacement quietly behind the scenes. This is why their ability to move on so quickly feels almost unreal and emotionally shocking to witness. Because while emotionally healthy people grieve the loss of intimacy, trust, and connection deeply, narcissists often focus far more on protecting their ego, image, and emotional comfort. The new person becomes a distraction from accountability and emotional reflection, a distraction from shame, loneliness, emotional emptiness, and unresolved insecurity inside them. Instead of sitting with guilt or honestly reflecting on the damage they caused in the relationship, they rush towards somebody new who can temporarily make them feel admired, desired, and important again. And this creates one of the deepest emotional wounds for the person left behind after the relationship ends, because you are still grieving honestly and processing real emotional pain while they appear completely unaffected. You are struggling to sleep, trying to understand what happened, and emotionally falling apart inside while they are posting pictures, seeking attention online, and acting like the relationship meant nothing to them. But what many people fail to understand during this painful stage is something extremely important. Fast replacement does not automatically equal genuine emotional healing, happiness, or healthy attachment. In many cases, it actually reveals emotional avoidance, insecurity, dependency, and deep inner emptiness instead. Healthy emotional attachment takes time to process after losing somebody you genuinely loved and trusted. Real love leaves emotional impact, reflection, sadness, and personal growth behind after a breakup happens. But narcissists often avoid emotional reflection completely because it threatens the image they have of themselves. So instead of healing internally in a healthy and emotionally mature way, they seek external validation immediately from somebody else as quickly as possible. They need somebody new to reassure them that they are still desirable, attractive, powerful, and important. Without constant admiration and emotional attention from others, many narcissists begin feeling deeply insecure and emotionally unstable beneath the surface. This is one major reason why they often move rapidly from one relationship directly into another one. Not because every new person is suddenly the love of their life or a soulmate connection, but because being alone forces them to face emotions they have spent years trying to escape and suppress. And the hardest part for the empath or emotionally healthy partner is often this painful reality. The narcissist frequently treats the new person much better during the beginning stages of the relationship. They suddenly appear more attentive, affectionate, emotionally available, charming, and deeply interested. And watching that transformation can completely destroy your confidence if you do not understand the narcissistic cycle. You begin thinking, maybe you were the real problem all along in the relationship. Maybe you were not lovable enough, attractive enough, patient enough, or valuable enough to keep them emotionally invested. Maybe the narcissist changed for the next person in ways they never changed for you despite all your efforts. But what you are actually witnessing is simply the beginning stage of the same toxic cycle repeating itself again. Narcissists are often extremely skilled at creating intense emotional highs during the beginning of relationships. They mirror the new person's desires, personality, emotional needs, and dreams almost perfectly in the beginning. They create a fantasy version of connection that is designed to create emotional attachment very quickly. But eventually, the mask almost always begins slipping once again over time. The charm slowly fades once emotional control and attachment become fully established in the relationship. And the same manipulation, emotional inconsistency, selfishness, and emotional neglect often begin returning again, because the issue was never truly about you lacking something important or valuable as a person. The real issue was their inability to maintain healthy, stable, and authentic emotional intimacy long term. A narcissist replaces people quickly because people often become interchangeable sources of emotional validation to them. And when relationships are built on emotional supply instead of genuine connection and emotional depth, moving on quickly becomes much easier for them, at least on the surface level emotionally. But beneath all that speed, confidence, and apparent happiness, there is often emotional emptiness they are constantly trying to outrun internally. Meanwhile, the empath or emotionally healthy person grieves in a completely different and much deeper way. You replay memories because your attachment and emotional investment were completely genuine and real. You struggle to move on because your emotions, love, and intentions came from a sincere place inside you. You hurt deeply because you truly loved deeply and emotionally attached in an authentic way. And even though it may feel unfair and emotionally unbearable in the beginning stages of healing, your ability to genuinely grieve is actually proof of emotional depth, humanity, and real emotional capacity. Because healing slowly after heartbreak is not weakness or emotional failure in any way. Feeling pain after losing someone you truly loved and emotionally invested in is not something shameful. It simply means your heart was authentic in a relationship that often was not emotionally authentic in return. Eventually, something powerful and important begins shifting inside you during the healing process. You stop focusing so much on how quickly they replaced you after the relationship ended, and you begin understanding why they needed to replace you so quickly in the first place emotionally. Because emotionally healthy people may feel lonely after heartbreak and emotional loss, but narcissists often feel emotionally empty without constant validation and emotional attention from others. And there is a very deep and important difference between those two things. And that's the real truth behind why narcissists replace people so quickly. It was never about your value, it was about their pattern. If this helped you see things clearly, don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned. Because understanding this is how you stop repeating the same emotional cycle.